All right, good morning and welcome everyone.
Morning.
Morning, morning. What would you guys like to work on?
Buenos días.
Buenos dias. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I guess a suggestion you have. So it's actually happening right now. I spoke to a seller yesterday. I know she's selling the property soon. She hit me with the objection of my sister-in-law is a realtor, but she's like physically disabled, so we're still kind of thinking what to do. And I went the route of what if we come up with a win-win proposition where she can get part of the commission and I sell your property. That way you can preserve the relationship. Same time you'll get the best result. And she was kind of biting onto it. And she's like, well, I would love for you to come by and take a look, but we want to wait till like maybe mid-May. And I kind of just like flushed it, and I just said, hey, yeah, like it's not really to like sit down and sign contracts, but just for me to like understand and meet you in person. I'm gonna be in the area. Can I stop by this Friday? Just to do a quick pop by. She's like, oh, okay. And this morning she texted me saying, well, Roji, I think we still want to wait till May to meet you. And I still need to talk to my sister-in-law. What would you do in this case? Would you still just show up with like a package? Would you just wait till May, or would you try to like still handle this objection?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'd probably not wait. I'd probably say, hey, you know what? I happen to be in your area tomorrow at around 4 o'clock. And, for me to come by and just drop off my card and a little bit of my information. And at the same time, take a quick look at the house. And obviously when we meet, there's no obligation whatsoever. This way we could just meet each other and I can give you some tips and tricks on, how you can sell your home for more in May, because whether or not you're going to sell right now or in May, you're going to want to know about that, right? So I would just kind of do a preview that way and then just build rapport from there until mid-May. So you got two objections. One is waiting until May. One is the sister-in-law. So you got to handle one at a time kind of thing. But the time frame, I just want to know, okay, well, what is their motivation and why are they even moving?
Right. Well, the initial conversation started because I was door knocking and she was like, her husband was like super sick. So I kept following up. She said, yeah, my husband just passed away. She was all devastated and, reached out yesterday. She said, yeah, my husband passed away. I'm looking to move to Palm Desert where my sister is. And ideally, I want to move there by August, meaning I want to put the house on the market by like June. So I got pretty much the prequel done. They're absolutely selling it. And they're absolutely moving to Palm Desert to be with close to her other family.
Okay, I'd go today.
You go today?
You better go visit today. Just knock on their door, 100%. Have you met them in person?
Yeah, I met them was door knocking like 4 months ago, maybe 5 months.
Okay,
ago.
you better go again. You better go again and just get your face there and just be like, hey, I'm committed. I'm confident I can sell your home. And, at the end of the day, you'd want to make sure that you get the best price possible from the sale of your home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I position it that way. But with a high level of motivation like that, you got to show up.
Yeah.
And you might need to show up multiple times. And that's okay.
Okay.
What's the price point of this home?
Well, that area, single family is like probably like $1 million for a tear down. I'm thinking like $1 million one, just by looking at it from the outside. And I know it wasn't because I kind of peeked the inside before. It wasn't like remodeled. It was just move-in ready kind of.
Okay, so in this case, you're probably going to make 35 to 40K. Let's just say, right? Is it worth it to go preview it a few times?
It's definitely worth going.
Yeah. I don't think you even need to handle the objection right now. I'd just go. I don't know.
Really?
Anybody else?
Don't respond back? Like, cause she texted me this morning, like, hey, I want to like hold off till we meet.
Yeah, definitely. And certainly, I'm not trying to push you to get the property listed. At the same time, whether or not you listed now or listed in May, you'd want to know about the information about the market, exactly how you're going to get more money, correct? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just all about you. And this quick meeting, this quick pop-by is only informational and educational. There's no obligation. So what time would you be available today for me to pop by? 4 or 5 o'clock. Make it easy, right? Make it easy and casual, because you just want to get there and you just want to show your confidence and your, sincerity in trying to get their home sold. So I don't know. Anybody else? That's
yeah. I'll jump in here. You absolutely have to, because another agent who's much stronger than you is going to come in and take that listing.
Yeah, fuck that. True. That's true. Yeah, someone could just handle that same objection.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So maybe go back, door knock it, or look at something that just went pending in the neighborhood, door knock it, and say, you know what? I just wanted to stop by, just put another property under contract here in the neighborhood, and I thought you should know that homes are still selling. I'm ready to go. I know that you were wanting to hold off for a little bit, but Mrs. Seller, I am adamant about you understanding that this market is so strong right now. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 months. It's an election year. There's talks of war breaking out. So let's go ahead and do the right thing. Let's get this on the market so you can be sold and you don't have to deal with any after effects of what can happen in the future.
Got it.
Jose, what are your thoughts?
I jumped in late. I didn't hear the whole thing. I'm guessing he door knocked somebody and they said they're gonna hold off for a little bit of time, right?
And then also her, I guess, sister-in-law is a realtor out in like somewhere miles away from where this property is.
Got it. So usually what I try to do is I get clarification. Like, so it's two different things. Number one would be like, hey, are you still looking to sell? So I would be like, so it sounds like you're still going to be selling the property. Is that correct? Got it. Okay. And then this is a door knock, right?
Yes.
I would then be like, great, what's a good day for us to get together? Or what's a good day for us to go over the home selling process so that we can go over what we can do to help you sell this property for top dollar? Then they would be like, oh, well, my sister-in-law or my sister, I'm just going to work with her. And then at that point, it's the I already have another agent script, basically. Which the way that I like to handle that is just like, I'm not sure if you're open to this. Here's what most sellers do. Most sellers typically take the time to interview more than one agent just to get a couple different opinions about price, commission, and then also marketing. Is that something that you're open to? And then at that point, they're going to be like, no, she's my friend or she's my girlfriend or I've known her for a really long time. So then I move into the second phase of that objection. I'm like, look, the only reason I'm asking about a second opinion is a lot of the properties that we list for sale, we sell them above the asking price. Let me give you a quick example. I go through that pattern. If they say no, then I go through the third phase of that. Here's the good news. I'm not asking for any sort of commitment from you. I'm not asking for you to sign a contract with me. All I'm asking is for an opportunity to interview. All I want is really an opportunity to interview and then to give a strong presentation, basically. You haven't interviewed for the position yet, right? At least that's what it sounds like. Got it. Yeah, no. That's all you want. At the end of the day, all you want is an opportunity to interview. And that's probably the most common objection that you're going to get. I already have another agent. And it's going to come in a variety of different ways. It's going to be like a neighborhood specialist. It's going to be a friend. It's going to be a relative. Your ability to be able to handle that one will obviously not guarantee you the listing, but it'll put you in a better position to get more listings, basically.
So that whole that I kind of went that conversation yesterday. So it went. I have a friend I have a family in the business, so I handle that. I say, hey, it wouldn't hurt to have a second opinion. She's like, oh, you're right, right. And then I kind of went because we just sold one in the area for above asking, so I went that route. It's like, oh, okay, well, wouldn't hurt to know that. And then I went to. She was saying like, well, I would really feel bad for my sister-in-law. Like I promised her I would let her know. And then I went through that whole, like, what if you come with a win-win proposition where they can get something so you can preserve your relationship. And she said, okay. And that's when I went, okay, why don't we meet? And she was like, well, we're like kind of way too early. Let's wait till May. And I kind of just like, yeah, we can wait till May, but I'm just going to be in the area this Friday. Want to just do a quick pop by? And she says, okay. This morning, she's like, I think this is too fast. That's where we're at.
Oh, and you door knocked her this morning, basically.
No, I door knocked her 4 or 5 months ago. That's what I'm at. Yeah. I followed up with her on the phone call yesterday.
Got it. And she said it's still like not ready to basically.
She's just like, well, I thought about it, but this Friday is kind of too quick. I still want to talk to my sister-in-law. My house is cluttered. Can we just wait till May? And I didn't respond to that in text yet. So it's this morning.
Got it. So it's a text message. So it's going to be a little bit harder via text message, just so you know, just because the delayed response, the thinking about it. I can tell you how I would handle it over the phone if you would like. And I could role play that with you, like meaning I could be the agent if you want, and you could be the seller, and you can run that over that scenario if you want.
Okay, so I'm the seller. You call. I texted you, and you're calling, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Hey, Ranji, Jose Morales, how are you?
I'm doing good. Hi, Jose.
Good. So I got your text message. I just wanted to ask, are you still looking to sell this property?
Yeah, like I told you yesterday, we're absolutely going to sell the house. But again, I have a sister-in-law that's a realtor, so I want to run it by her. And I think we want to wait until May until I meet with you.
Got it. Okay. So obviously you have the sister-in-law and you kind of want to run. What is it that you want to run by her, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I told her before that I was going to list a home with her. But I know she's on a oxygen tank. She's physically not too capable. So I was going to ask if she's okay with, kind of tag teaming with you before we do anything.
Can I make a recommendation to you?
Sure.
Okay. So here is the good news for you. The good news for you is I'm not asking for you to sign up with me today. I'm not asking for any sort of commitment. I'm not even asking for you not to work with your sister-in-law. All I'm asking is for an opportunity to interview. Here's what I would recommend. Before you talk to your sister, interview me to see if you even want to work with me. If you like what you see, then at that point, I would recommend having the conversation with the sister-in-law. But before we meet, there's even a chance that you may not like what we have to offer. So the first step would actually be for us to get together, interview me. If you like what we have to offer, then at that point, we can talk to the sister-in-law and see if that's something that she's open to. Is that something that you'd be open to?
Yeah, again, but my house is, it's a mess right now. I don't know if I want people over. And again, I mean, we're planning on doing it in June. So right now is what, April?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to jump in right away.
Got it. So it's basically like when you say planning on doing it in June, does that mean like having it on the market in June, or does that mean like having it sold by June.
Oh, like putting on the market on June and be out of here by like August is my plan.
Got it. So you're kind of thinking like June timeframe, basically, to get it on the market.
Correct.
Because of the limited inventory, as obviously we just sold that one around the block from yours, and we sold it above the asking price. If there was a way where you can maybe get the property on the market sooner and maybe get some sort of rent back, that way you're still able to stay in the property until August timeframe, meaning we're able to get you your money sooner, but you can remain in possession of the property until August. Is that something that you would be open to at all?
I mean, I'll be open to, but do you think a buyer will let me stay till August?
Yeah, so if we really do the math, like let's say you put it on the market right now is April, right? Let's say you put it on the market, let's say May 1st, right?
Okay.
Let's say it takes us 3 weeks to get you an offer. That puts us already mid-April or mid-May or mid to end of May. And let's say we do a 45-day escrow. That already puts us in July. We're really talking about a lease back of less than 30 days, basically, at that point. So I would believe that would be very realistic. Is that something that you would potentially be open to?
I mean, yeah, if you can get a good offer for it, then yes.
Yeah. Okay. So once again, can I make a recommendation to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So no commitment, no obligation. I'm not even asking for you to sign anything. Let's meet. Let's talk about the different options that you have available to you. If it makes sense, great. You can take the next step, which is going to be to talk to your sister-in-law and see if she's open to it. If it doesn't make sense, at least you've interviewed one of the top agents here in town, and you've got some ideas as to what is going to be the best game plan for you to get top dollar. So if we were to get together, is there typically a day of the week that normally works out better for you?
Well, I'm retired, so I'm usually home during the week.
Got it. Okay. I'm looking here at my calendar. I would actually, and this may be too soon, and if it's too soon, let me know. I would actually have an opening for this Saturday at either 1 or 3. If that doesn't work, we can always do it next week as well, too. Would this Saturday be better for you, or would you prefer to do it sometime early next week?
Yeah, this Saturday, yeah, should work. I'm gonna be home.
And then would 1 or 3 be better?
3 would be better.
Okay, perfect. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it down for 3 p.m. for this Saturday. That is Saturday the 20th. And then I've got you down for 3 o'clock. Now, before we get together, I just have a couple of really quick questions I need to ask you. I'm going to be doing a little bit of homework, and I just want to make sure that obviously I'm fully prepared and I can really be of best service to you. Is it okay if I ask them now?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that, and I get this a lot, like where people have somebody like a friend or a neighbor, they feel almost like a sense of remorse or like a sense of guilt for meeting with another, or for even considering working another agent. What I usually like to do is I like to take the pressure off. I'm like, look, I'm not asking for anything from you. I'm not asking for any sort of commitment. I'm not asking for any sort of obligation. I'm not asking for you to sign anything. Because the reality is, what do you think the friend is going to say? Like if you go to a friend and even though she's on an oxygen tank and you tell her, and this is off script, this is just between me and you, agent to agent. If you tell her, hey, look, can you handle the listing? It's like basically saying, hey, do you mind if I pay you $20,000? The friend almost guaranteed is never going to say, hey, look, I don't sell real estate anymore. They're going to be like, yeah, I'll sell a property for you. Right. So knowing that, like, I always try to take the pressure off. And then I may even say something like, well, look, Jose, I understand that there's a sense of guilt of obviously like talking to another agent. Once again, I'm not asking for you to sign anything. I'm not asking for you to work with me. I'm not asking for you to stop working with your friend. All I'm asking for is just an opportunity to interview me. If you like what we have to offer, great. Then we can talk about next steps. But there's even that chance that you may not like what we have to offer. So if we were to get together, is there typically a day of the week? Nothing happens without the interview. So the next step is not for them to give you like a verbal commitment over the phone, or the next step is not for them to say, yeah, we want to work with you over the phone. The next step, I'm just pushing for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that if I'm able to get an interview, there's a very good chance that I won't get the listing. Whenever I get in front of them, there's a very good chance I can get a listing contract signed. If I'm unable to get in front of them, the chances are obviously a lot lower, basically. I had an agent one time tell me, oh, I beat you out on a listing presentation. I'm like, I didn't even get an opportunity to get in front of them, you know? Like, that's not like beating me out is like we both interviewed and they picked you, which happens, you know?
Got it. So,
so I think what Jose's saying there is really important. It's a emotional block, right? Because what I'm sensing when I hear you say that is like, yeah, I'm actually having doubts about my friend. I'm just very viscerally uncomfortable talking to them about it. That's really what's going on. Like, that's the hindrance, right? And being a world-class salesperson requires two things: intellectual intelligence, but also emotional intelligence. So we're talking about like what to say here, which is important, but it's also acknowledging. It's like, well, you know, what I'm sensing from you at this moment is that you seem to have a little hesitation, you know, with regards to your friend, just based on what's going on with them health-wise. At the same time, you kind of feel a little obligated and very uncomfortable having a conversation with them about it. Does that sound about right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see his face when I did that, guys? Anybody who could see his camera, he was like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like,
and now they feel understood.
Yeah, they feel heard and understood.
Which that's what you want. You want them to feel understood.
Because she literally told me like, oh, how should I tell her about you?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I would say, listen, you know, what I'm aware of is, you know, I know that ultimately for you personally, the sale of this property and what you're looking to accomplish and why, I mean, it's really a business decision. And it's really about who can help you net the most and do it quickly and efficiently. And I have to imagine, I mean, if she's really like your friend or a family member, she really wants what's best for you, right? Even if that means potentially having somebody who, you know, is in a little bit different physical situation, be able to help you. So what if we could create a win-win proposition? So in other words, you get the service and results that you deserve. She gets compensated, you know, without having to exert herself in any way. And you can preserve the relationship. Is that something you'd be open to? He's like, well, yeah, what do you mean? I was like, well, in these situations, what we've done numerous times, because it's not uncommon, you know, that you know somebody and you feel obligated sort of thing, and then it get uncomfortable. There's a reason why in our culture, they tell us to be cautious of doing business with friends or family. Have you ever heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and then to drill that down, I'd be like, well, why do you think that is a thing? It's like, well, you know, this and that, and he's going to tell me. It's like, okay. So what we've done in these situations is, let's say we connect. Again, there's no obligation. I want you to be clear. There's no pressure here. My intention is just to help you, to equip you with all the information that you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed. We'll connect. We'll go over some information. If it all makes sense and you do feel comfortable and confident with me that I can help, what I can do is we would offer a referral fee on the listing side commission, which would allow you, A, to preserve the relationship, B, it kind of softens the conversation. They'll be able to participate, actually get compensated without having to exert themselves, and you get the service and results that you deserve. So basically, we create a win-win proposition for all parties. Does that sound reasonable to you? Yeah, I figured it would. So if we were to connect under normal circumstances, so we can go over that information together as a team, are you usually available in the evenings or the afternoons? So again, like the process is address the emotional issue first. I think a lot of times what people do is they try to go to like some concoction of words, but that's not going to do it, bro, because it's not words that are the roadblock. It's not intellect, it's emotion. So address the emotion like right away, the way that I did. So it's like, hey, you know, I'm kind of sensing from you, it seems like internally you're questioning, you know, having your family member help just due to their kind of physical condition, what's going on with them health-wise, which is logical. I don't think, that's not a logical kind of concern. At the same time, you just really feel like obligated to maybe work with them. And it's just really uncomfortable for you to have that conversation with them. Does that sound about accurate? So I want to address that like right away. Then we can get into like, hey, there's no obligation, we can have a conversation. And then I also presented a win-win proposition. And most people don't do that either, because they operate from a perspective of like win-lose. Somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. But if you can create win-win propositions, I've listed like numerous, probably like 15, 20 properties in my career with this precisely. They're like, oh man, you would do that? It's like, yeah, I'm curious. Do you think that would help you to preserve the relationship and have the conversation with them? It's like, oh yeah, that would help out a lot. All right, awesome. So we can get together. If it makes sense, we'll do it. If it doesn't, that's okay too. If we were to meet under normal conditions, would you be available in the evenings or the afternoons, and then just take it from there?
And then what could happen is, let's say you have a listing presentation to her. I've had it at the end of the listing presentation as well, where they're like, okay, great. I'm going to be working with you, but let me talk to my friend first, or let me talk to my brother-in-law first, just so that I can let them know that I'm going to be working with you. And I smile. And what I typically say at that point is like, can I make a recommendation to you? Here's what's likely going to happen. If you go to your friend and you tell them that you're going to be working with another agent and that we're going to be paying them a referral fee, more than likely they're going to try to convince you out of it. Meaning that they're going to try to say like, no, please just give me the opportunity, or just give me a 30-day listing, or give me a 60-day listing, or they may even make you feel a little bit guilty. I don't know your friend personally, but they may say things like, how could you do this? Like, we've known each other for such a long time. How could you do this or that, right? So the recommendation that I was going to make, it's a lot easier, because this is the position that you're going to find yourself in. If you go to them and you tell them, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, they're going to try to convince you out of it. And then you're going to have this duality, meaning that you're going to be like, man, I want to work with Jose because I know he's the better choice. But then I have my friend that obviously I've known for a really long time, and it's going to create a lot of internal conflict. So what I would recommend instead is, or a lot of times what I find easier, is that you go back to them and you tell them, I've already done this, and this is the way that the structure is going to be. Because I care about you, the other agent's going to offer you some sort of compensation. But what's going to be easier for you is, I've already done this versus I am considering doing this, because if not, you're going to find yourself in a duality where now you have internal conflict. And now when we do work together, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to make that transition. So can I make a recommendation to you? I'm here right now. I'm ready to go to work for you. I'm ready to get started. I know that I can sell your property. All I need is the opportunity. Would you give me the opportunity to work with you?
Yeah, so I think that that's spot on. The way that I would do that is just with like a little bit of economy of words. So I'd be like, well, because the same thing happens in agent attraction. Like, well, let me go talk to my broker first. Okay. Well, they're going to tell you all the reasons why they don't want to do it. They'll do emotional sabotage, like, for all this done I've done for you, and all this other bullshit, right? What I say to people is like, well, based on what I'm hearing from you, it really sounds like your intention in having this conversation. Well, actually, prior to me asking this question, let me ask you this, because you're straightforward and to the point. I'm the exact same way. And this conversation is not about me. It's not about the other agents. It's really about you and your family, and ultimately you guys accomplishing your goals and objectives. So based on our time spent together today, based on what you've seen online, based on our track record, based on reviews, do you feel comfortable and confident with me that I can help you sell this home? I would give you great service and help you net the most. And they're like, yes. I want them to tell me that. Okay. Because now they've made this now by them telling me that, just hire me. Okay. So it sounds like really what's happening here is you're going to go to your friend not asking for permission, asking for support. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay. Well, what I find is super helpful to alleviate the pressure from you and from them is if you make the decision and we take care of the appropriate paperwork now. And in doing so, you can go back to them and say, hey, I've decided to do this. I think it's in my best interest. We've worked out something with the other agent where you're going to get compensation. And that alleviates the pressure from you, because they're not going to try to convince you to do something different. And it alleviates the pressure from them from trying to convince you to do something different. Does that make sense to you? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay, great. So with that being the case, I have the appropriate documentation here. We can put in the additional terms and conditions that we'll be providing a referral fee to this individual of, let's say, 25% of the agreed upon or of the listing side commission. So that way we have that all in writing. And then again, that's done and complete, and alleviates all that pressure from you when you have that conversation. So did you want to sign first, or did your wife want to sign first? You see what I'm saying? So I'm doing the same thing that Jose did. I'm just using like questions perhaps instead of like a few more questions. We're getting to the same place. But again, it's like, I want to make sure, I want them to say out loud, I would prefer to work with you. Then B, you're not asking for permission. You're asking for support. Is that right? And they're like, well, yeah. So it's like, yeah. So, because, let me ask you this. Like, if you were to go to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, what's the probability that they're going to try to convince you that that's not a good idea? It's very high. I mean, it's natural. It's normal. It's human behavior. In an attempt to preserve that relationship and take the pressure off you and take the pressure off them, my experience is if you go ahead and formalize your decision, which you've already made, and we put in the agreement that we'll pay them a certain, referral fee on a listing side commission, when you go to them, you let them know, hey, this is not an attempt for you to try to negotiate with me or for you to try to convince me that this is not a good idea. This is more so me coming to you, letting you know that I value our relationship and I want to preserve it. And here's what I thought would made the most sense to do it. I've already decided to do it. And that makes that conversation much easier for you and for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what I was going to say is there's a very good likelihood that this come up. And if you don't handle this at the end of the presentation and they go back to the friend, there's a 50-50 chance that the friend may talk them into doing something and giving them some sort of listing, basically. So that's why
the friend will cut their commission. They'll do like emotional arbitrage, like how dare you, like they'll do all this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so important to follow this sequence. A, get confirmation out loud that they prefer to work with you, and you do that by asking questions. B, share with them what you're really asking for. And think about this. If someone's like, yeah, I want to speak to my significant other, like whatever. It's like, yeah, I get it. I want you guys to be on the same page. And kind of what I'm sensing from you is you've already decided that this makes sense and that this is something that would serve you long term and that, you can get value from. Is that right? Yeah. So really what you're going to talk to your significant other about is not about asking for permission. It's more about asking for support. Now, when I say that to you, look, Jose, if I said that to Jose, he's like, fuck that. I don't need permission. Like, you see what I'm saying? That's what it elicits. Nah, dude, I don't need permission. It's like, yeah, that's right. You just need support. And what I'm imagining, Jose, is that Mariela would support whatever decision that you made. Wouldn't you agree? He's like, yeah, pretty much. She'd be like, yeah, honey, whatever you think makes sense. And you've already decided that this makes sense. So may I make a suggestion? Yeah. Let's just go ahead and start the process, man. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's a process like underneath on how you get there. But step one, acknowledge the emotional block that's there. Step two, get them to say out loud that, yes, I've decided that this makes sense for me and I want to do it. Then step three, give them a solution to the problem of having that conversation. And couch it in terms of them. Like, this is actually beneficial for you because it alleviates the pressure for you and alleviates the pressure from them. So notice, nowhere in there is it about me.
Do you ever address the duality thing, Aaron? And the reason I address the duality is whenever I do, there are a lot of the times they're like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
I think the way that you're explaining it is good. Because that is really what's going on. I know we did a lot of work on like gremlin taming together, and that's really what's going on is there's an internal conflict. Like one part of them is like, yeah, I want to do this. The other part is like, it's a little uncomfortable for me. So I think it's cool. I'm just aware that like, and I mean this lovingly.
Economy is a word.
Well, that and the U.S. population, bro, their vernacular is like at a 7th grade level. It's just what it is. Like, so when we start being like verbose and using, they're like, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I want to keep it like as simple as possible.
What about saying like internal conflict?
There you go. That's better.
You start feeling this internal conflict.
Yeah. And maybe what I would do is I would couch it for me. It's like, yo, when I'm making decisions like this, or where stuff like this has happened in my life, it creates an internal conflict for me. There's one side of me that's like, hey, I want to do something. It's a little uncomfortable to have this conversation. Is that what's going on for you right now? And then be quiet.
Because I feel like that's exactly what's happening, bro. They're having an internal.
No, it is exactly.
They're having an internal conflict. So if you can put that on the table, they feel more understood.
Yeah, and you're actually addressing the actual thing that's causing them not to proceed. So again, we think thinking beings that feel. We're actually feeling beings that think. So I'm addressing it. Now, when I put it on me, I'm like, I don't know about you, Sohail. For me, when I'm presented with a situation like this, it can create internal conflict for me because there's one part of me that's like, yeah, I want to do this. The other part's like, this other thing's really uncomfortable. Now, by doing that, that's actually, it's easier for them to see it in me than it is themselves. That's actually intentional. Okay? Helps them to see it more clearly because I'm taking it off of them and putting it on.
And you could even, you could even be like, you could even tell them, like, even face to face or on the face to face, be like, can I share something with you that I'm noticing? I'm noticing that there may be some internal conflict going on.
Yeah, and where Jose, everybody knows where Jose learned this from is me and him did training together. Because I became a faculty member of the Gremlin Taming Institute. A dude named Rick Carson wrote a book called Taming Your Gremlin. I studied it for 10 years and became someone who can actually like teach it to other people. And Jose and a couple other people got together in a group and I was teaching it to them. Like words like I'm noticing, I'm imagining, I'm aware. What they actually cause you to do, it's not for the person that you're speaking to. It actually causes you. If you say I'm noticing, what does that cause you to do? Notice. If you say I'm aware, what does that cause you to do? Become aware. If you say I'm imagining, what that reminds you is that you're making this shit up. I don't know if this is true or not. Right? So to piece it all together, and I love when this happens, right? Triangulating ideas. It's like, well, I'm imagining, Jose, that what's going on for you, because, when I am presented with a situation like this, which happens all the time in business, it creates like an internal conflict for me, where there's one part of me that really wants to move forward and another part of me that's not really comfortable having this conversation with this individual because my desire is to try to preserve the relationship. Is that what's going on for you? And then shut up. And then they're going to be like, well, yeah, it's exactly what it is. And once you've done that, it's like there's a gate. So imagine like there's a gate and you want to get to the other side. You have to go through this in order to get to the other side of the gate. Going around it is bullshit. Like the way through something is by going through it, not by going around it. So you have to address it immediately. And responsible semantics, like I'm aware, I'm imagining, I'm noticing, I'm afraid, speaking to somebody as though they're 7, not intellectually 7, but not in verbose, complicated language, that if they were 7, they would understand you. It's very, very, very powerful.
Yeah, and this is right. This is like gremlin taming, and that was like really helpful for me. It helped me not only in business, but it helped me in personal relationships as well too. Where I would be like, "Look, I'm noticing I'm starting to feel angry, and like, can I share something with you?" And just it helps you have conversations with people about what you're feeling, what you're noticing, and putting those things on the table, basically.
Yep, 100%. And then when Jose started to play with this, because there's two things that are happening simultaneously. One is getting a heightened level of awareness, like extraordinary, like not common level of awareness, right? And that's a skill, actually, is being present enough to actually notice things, right? And when Jose started playing with this, like stuff would become glaringly apparent to him. He tells a story frequently, which he's told on here. He was sitting with somebody and it came up for him. He noticed, he's like, hey, I'm noticing it seems as though the commission is really the only thing standing in our way of doing business together. And the guy looked at him and was like, how did you know? It's because Jose was present enough to notice his body language, notice what he was like. He could just feel it. And the guy was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool. Well, if we could come to an agreement on that, would there be any other reason why we couldn't do business? He's like, nope. They came to an agreement. He listed the property, sold it. So it's very, very powerful. You know, and there's two components. Again, there's intellectual intelligence, which is what to say and how to say it. And I need everybody on this call to understand something. That's the barrier to entry. Don't fucking pat yourself on the back because you role play. Don't pat yourself on the back because you prospect. That's what this job is. It's what you signed up for. It's not something to get accolades for. It's not something to get strokes or fucking. That's like being a writer and like stopping people in the street and be like, you know what I do every day? I write. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. That's what you signed up to do. The emotional intelligence piece, if you can combine those two things, it's super powerful. Okay, it's unstoppable. Where you can use your intellect, your emotional intelligence, your intellectual intelligence, your thoughts, feelings to influence others. It's power, bro. It's like if you've ever seen the movie Dune, I just watched it, which is pretty cool. I didn't realize like they ripped off like Star Wars, like hardcore, or Star Wars ripped off Dune. But in the movie Dune, if you've seen it, I know, Mark, it goes to the heart. I know you love Star Wars, but it's true. So in Dune, they have this thing called the Voice, which based like kind of like the Force, but there's the Bene Gesserit, like these females that like basically work on their mind and get these higher level of consciousness and awareness where they can use the voice and command people to do things. And it seems like magic. Well, some people might watch what me and Jose are doing and be like, that's magic. It is not. It's a skill that you can learn through practice, but it also requires heightened levels of awareness. It requires skills like responsible semantics, skills like simply noticing, skills like addressing, going straight to what the emotional barrier is that's stopping us from moving forward. So I don't want people to get lost on this idea that you can magically come up like me and Jose will give you this magical concoction of words that'll overcome emotional blocks. It won't. No matter what you say, no matter how much NLP you learn, no matter how blah, 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 blah. Like, no, it won't. The only thing that'll help you to move forward is to help people to work through the emotional, either like Jose duality or the emotional conflict that's happening internally. It's the only way that you'll move it forward.
Was that helpful?
Super helpful.
Yeah, you don't. Hey, Jose, you don't have to ask that, bro. He knows it was. Come on, bro.
No, I just wanted him to say it out loud, bro.
There you go. Hey. Yeah.
Very helpful.
It's $1 million worth of game for free. What's up,
Aaron? It wasn't whether it was helpful or not. I knew it was helpful. It was it was just getting the confirmation out loud.
Hey, you see now, Jose, he's got to like, okay, yeah, okay.
No, because it never was. I knew it was helpful. It was just getting the confirmation.
Yeah, did you hear Josh? Josh is like, what I'm aware of is this is super helpful. Yeah, of course. Hey, look at me. Of course it is. All right, Nino, you got a question?
Yes, hello. I have a question. That's an expired. And how would you handle an objection when the expired says, I'm not going to list because I'm sick of showing? I don't want to get my home ready and accommodate showing times, and then showings are canceled, and we don't want to go through it again.
Yeah, listen, I really appreciate that. And I can hear in your voice that you're frustrated with the process. And I know the only reason that you would even consider doing that again is if you had a compelling reason as to why you wanted to sell the property. So if you don't mind me asking, I mean, it is lovely. It's in a great geographic area. I don't need to tell you that. Great school district. When you originally put it on the market 180 days ago, was there any particular reason you were even considering selling it?
Yes, we wanted to downgrade.
Okay. And so get something smaller. Were you guys thinking of staying here locally or looking to move out of the area?
No, we're going to go out of the city, cottage country.
And I'm wondering, like, ultimately, because clearly you don't have to do anything, right? My job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. So if you were to move and make that, geographic change, how would your life improve in some way? What would the benefit be to you personally?
I didn't hear the connection was poor.
So if you were to move, right, because I'm clear you don't have to do anything. My job's to help you. It's never to talk you into, trying to sell your home. So if you were to make the move happen, how would your guys' life improve in some way? What would the benefit be to you personally?
Well, we'll have some cash in our pocket, and then we're going to enjoy the laid-back lifestyle.
That's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about what the laid-back, what does it look like in your mind?
Well, hassle-free, no traffic, not too many people, nature. So just relaxed lifestyle.
Sounds wonderful. It really does. So let's say you were able to accomplish that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you sold the home, you got the cash, you got that free lifestyle, hassle-free, less congestion. How would that make you feel?
Amazing. That's what we want.
Yeah, exactly. So being that that's the case, I mean, if you knew that simply by making a few adjustments, you could actually accomplish that sooner rather than later, maybe in the next 90 to 120 days, would that be worth 10 to 15 minutes of your time?
Well, yes, but we don't want to do the showings.
Yeah, and that's okay, because there's various different ways that we can actually show the property now with technology and things of that nature. And really what I'm aware of is the issue isn't necessarily with the showings. The issue is with a lack of results. I mean, let me ask you this. If you only had to show the property 5 more times and you got the offer that you wanted, would you really care about the showings?
No.
Exactly. So just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the options. May I make a suggestion?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple things from you very clearly. The first one is you still want to move. I mean, you're just really kind of disappointed and frustrated with the process and a lack of offers that were acceptable. And you really want to make this happen and get this, hassle-free lifestyle. And you deserve it. The second thing I'm hearing from you is you're not specifically clear as to how come it didn't sell, what you need to change to ensure that it does. So what I'd like to do is this, and I really wouldn't mind because I'm in your area all the time anyway. I'd love to have the opportunity simply just to pop by, take a look, see what it has to offer in person. And while I am there, I will show you a couple things super clearly. Number one, how come it didn't sell over the last 6 months? Number two, what we would need to change in terms of a more proactive and aggressive approach to ensure that it does with limited showings. And then at least this way, whatever you decide to do, whether it's sooner or later, you decide to postpone getting that lifestyle that you want, or you decide to go after it, you'll have all the most important information you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed. Does that sound fair to you?
Well, yes, but how are you going to sell without the showing?
Yeah, and here's what's interesting about that. Technology has, really gone leaps and bounds. And from 2020 to 2021, we were restricted in showings, and we still were able to sell 100 plus properties in a calendar year. So it's really not a question to me of whether or not we can accomplish this goal and objective. It's really just a question of me figuring out what you're looking to accomplish and why, what level of showings is acceptable, how we can limit the showings to ultimately get you the outcome that you want. So that way you can actually make this move happen. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So basically you're saying that we don't have to prepare our home. We don't have to leave our house for showings. We can sell it without doing all that and still get a good price.
Certainly is 100%. And that certainly is one option, with different types of camera and video and stuff that we use. What I'm also aware of too, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, if you only had 5 more showings on the property and you got the offer that you wanted, you'd be fine with that. So really what you're really upset with is not the showings. You're upset with the lack of results. So if you got the results that you wanted, I mean, you'd be okay going through the showing process, wouldn't you?
Well, no, that's the thing. Not really. If I have to kind of do 5 more showings, it's fine. But if it's going to be a regular flow of showing requests, then no.
Yeah, that's okay. We could always limit it to a short, period of time where everybody comes in and takes a look. And again, we'll go over it together as a team. If it makes sense, we'll do it. If it doesn't, that's okay too. So if we were to connect under normal conditions, are you usually available in the evenings or the afternoons?
Evenings would be better.
Okay, and evenings for you, is that like around 6 or a little bit later at 7?
Oh, 7. 7 would be better.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll pencil it in for that time. My assistant, her name is Carla, she'll call you just to confirm, make sure that time still works for you. If something comes up for you, if we need to change it or move it around, we can always do that. So before we connect, I just have a couple super quick questions to ask you just to make sure that I'm fully prepared and I can provide you with the most accurate information, be the best assistance to you. And I'll be brief because I know your time is valuable. And then I go into prequel. So what are you aware of as I do that? Because I didn't do it to hear myself speak.
Well, no, I really liked how you pressed on motivation and how they would feel if they were to accomplish their goals.
Yeah, did you hear, even though we're role playing, when I asked you how you would feel, did you hear that you actually laughed and smiled?
Yeah.
Because we're actually thinking beings that feel. We're not, we think that we're thinking beings that feel. We're really feeling beings that think. So we get all caught up in the mechanism of showing. But what I went to directly is how would her life benefit and how would that make her feel? That's what's more important. Once I had you reconnect with that, you got much more flexible. And then I even asked you, I'm like, well, if we only had to show the property far more times and you got the offer that you wanted, would you care? And you were like, no. You even told me out loud that what you were saying to me is not actually true.
But then,
So
Aaron, how would you show only 5 times? Like,
I know, but wait. So I know you've asked questions before. So what happens is like the way your brain works, you're very analytical by nature. So what's hard is like, as I start to share this with you, you start to get into like small little details of like, wait, like, how, what, huh? The whole point here is to get in front of them. What I'm also aware of is there's various different options that you can use. One, you can use a Matterport camera, price the property aggressively. It's still going to sell. I promise you. You could arrange where only showings are going to happen. You put on the market on a Monday or whatever, and there's an open house on the weekend, and all the showings happen at one time. So there's various different kind of methodologies that you can utilize.
You okay? How do you sleep? Actually, I'm good. Thank you. I did too. I mean, I woke up early again, but...
Hello?
Yeah, I don't know. So talking about waking up early. Mute yourself.
Well, thank you, Aaron. I really liked how you pressed on motivation and how you made them kind of visualize how they will feel like and what their lifestyle would be.
That's the most important thing that you need to take away from what I did.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. That's how it's done, son.
Who else would like to role play? Question, insights, comments? We got 9 minutes.
That was great.
Love it.
I had a question. Some of these objections, when do you kind, because we need a lot of motivation right now to get these sellers to sell. Obviously, when do you kind of just say, you know what, this guy's just not motivated enough, and just let's move on? Because it seems like sometimes those objections are just smokescreens for not being motivated.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes that's the case, but the only way you're going to get to that is just by digging and asking questions around motivation. And sometimes people are evasive. They don't want to answer your questions. But more often than not, again, like this goes back to like our call last week where like something's more true than something else. And 2 things can be true at the same time. I need everybody on this call to understand something. If you can recognize that 2 things can be true at the same time, it frees your brain up from trying to find that like one thing that's like true and everything else is false. Because that's not what reality is. So if you decided to keep following up at those people that are pains in the asses and evasive, will you do a handful of deals? Yes. What is more true, though, is that if you move on and look for the people that are willing to have conversations with you, you will more transactions. That's more true.
You kind of cut out. You cut out.
Which part did you not hear?
The last part you said is that if you talk to people that, give you less information, it's some deals, and then that's it.
Yeah. So in other words, 2 things can be true at the same time. Like if you talk to people that give you less information, you keep fucking hounding them and like bothering them, will you do a handful of transactions from that? Yes.
Right.
If you recognize quickly that they're being evasive and they're being a pain in the ass and they don't want to share with you things, and you move on and look for the people who are willing to have conversations with you and are more motivated, you will do more transactions. So this is what I'm saying to you. 2 things can be true at the same time. Most people are looking for like the one right answer, but you have to think in probability.
Right.
What's the probability that if I spend all my time hit my goal high, will you do transactions? Yes, but you won't hit your goal and objective. So it really depends on what the goal is. Right. So if I want to do 100 deals, I can't I'm not going to spend very, very infinitesimally small time talking to people that are resistant or like a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to, well, I'm not going to tell you and fucking blah, 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 and I think agents are full of shit. And blah, blah. Like, okay, fine. I'm just going to move on. I don't have time to speak to those people.
Right. It's a great point. Great point. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I have a quick question. Going back to when you walked Nino through.
Now the only thing I would now, Aaron, one sec. Would you say this is kind of what I see sometimes? I see that agents will say it's the client not opening up to them instead of being like, hey, I need to work on my skills as well too. Like meaning like I've had leads, like other agents give me leads, and they're like, oh, like this person's not open to doing something, or they are saying that they already have another agent, and that agent gives up on them, gives it to me, and then I'm able to convert it. Do you think that there's also a part of like taking responsibility as well too? Meaning like instead of like, because what could happen is an agent could be like, oh, this person's not motivated enough. Oh, this person's not motivated enough. This person's not motivated enough. And then they find themselves just looking for that one person who's like, yes, yes, yes to everything.
Yeah.
And they're
No,
walking away
that's
from all
accurate.
these people because they didn't know how to convert the person, basically.
No, I think that that's a very good point, Jose, and I think that that's true. And if you're getting a lot of people being like very kind of, I don't know, like defensive, there's always going to be resistant. But if they're being exceptionally resistant, it probably has to do with your approach. So whenever you start to ask questions in a staccato manner, like one after the other, people are going to shut down. Right? They're not going to, they're not going to continue the conversation. So, 100%, I would start to examine. So if that's happening a lot, record those calls, send them to a coach or somebody to be like, yo, here's what I'm saying. And I think it will become very, very apparent, if it is that, what you're doing, how you're actually influencing them having that response.
Yeah, because I find that happens a lot at the very beginning, where people are like, oh, it's the client. And I told people, I'm like, can I share with you something? Like, it's not the client, bro. It's your skills aren't at a high enough conversion rate where basically you can get through all of this, meaning ask questions in a way where they open up, build rapport, freaking address emotional intelligence and all that,
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And then when you share that with agents, sometimes they get butthurt. You know what I mean? They get like mad, but it doesn't make it any less true.
Yeah. And the reason I'm saying that is because if not, you'll find yourself just being like, oh, there's got to be an easier client. There's got to be an easier client. It's like an example of my brother-in-law. When he got to, like, he'd lost like 6 escrows in like a matter of 3 weeks or a month, all on requests for repairs. And he was like, oh, like all these clients are crazy, like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what if I told you it wasn't them? I'm like, what if I told you that it was a new skill that you had to develop? And once you master this new skill, basically you're going to be able to close these escrows out. And sure enough, we went over the process with him as to how to handle the request for repairs. And we went over how he was contributing to that. He fixed it. Now his fallout rate is very little, basically.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Dude, the more you can take extreme ownership in your life, extreme, like everything is like, comes back to me, the faster you'll grow.
So even this, Mario, a different question would be like, hey, look, I'm experiencing this, and this, and this is how I responded. And then I can tell you if the client's being a pain in the ass or if there's some skill development that needs to happen there, basically.
Definitely agree with both. You got to ask more questions and squeeze out all the juice from the lemon before you just give up on it.
Yeah.
And then eventually learn which people are actually motivated after you've mastered that skill.
Yeah, and it's also what you're trying to acquire is pattern recognition. So like there's these videos on TikTok which are pretty cool where like a doctor, they'll be like, hey, let's see if he can guess what the problem is. And they'll only give like certain information. Like here's what's showing up in the blood work. And then the doctor will start asking questions. Is it this or this? Like, did this show up or this show up? Is it there, here or here? Where in their body does it hurt? Boom, boom, boom. By 5 questions, 6 questions, they tell you exactly what the problem is. That's pretty cool, right? Well, the same thing is happening here. But in order for the doctor to get pattern recognition, it took 10, 12 years of studying, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like it takes a long time. So that's why when Nino shows up and this is like, this question is like flummoxing her. She's like, I don't know. How do I deal with the showings? But because I have done this so many times, I know what the pattern is. I know she really doesn't care about the showing. She just cares about the result. But I need to find out how motivated she is. And the way I got to ask questions about how would her life improve and then how would that make her feel? Do you see what I'm saying? And it's just a process. Guys, listen to me. Most of your guys' issue is patience. You're just not like, you just want it to happen immediately. It doesn't, bro. Like, Anything worth doing for a decade is worth doing for a day. Like, where did I get this idea in my mind that I'm going to be world-class at something, and only 4% of all businesses, listen to what I'm going to say to you, 4% of all businesses in the United States ever make more than $1 million a year. 4%. 0.001% of agents across the country make over $1 million a year. Where did I ever get the idea that that would be easy and fast? Like, it just doesn't make sense, bro. I have to go through the reps. I have to go through the time. I have to go through, what you're seeing here. Let's say when I role play with people is, I don't know, 20,000 hours of prospecting, like 4,000 listing appointments. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what that's how you acquire the pattern recognition, is through reps and coming to calls like this. So somebody can share with you, yo, here's the pattern and here's how to deal with it. All right, team, I got to hop on another call. Elite Builders Coast to Coast.
Thank you, guys.
Make it a great day, guys. We'll see you all next week. Adios. Bye-bye.